Yeah, hi, good morning everyone. I have got quite a loud voice, so if this gets too much for you, please shout at me and I'll put it down and shout, but I think it's probably better that we go with the handheld. So good morning everyone, my name's Laura Wakelin. I'm from a destination and tourism consultancy called Blue Sail. For those of you who don't know Blue Sail, we work with destinations all over the UK and internationally. Destinations of all kinds, so cities, rural destinations, coastal destinations, like we're in here, and individual attractions and businesses as well. And we do kind of tourism growth strategies, we do marketing strategies, basically anything that helps to grow the value of the visitor economy strategically within those places. And we've done a lot of work in Suffolk, East Suffolk particularly recently, and that's one of the reasons why I've been asked to speak to you today. So just to run through what we've been doing, so we helped develop the Sizewell Sea Tourism Mitigation Fund back in 2024, and as part of that we did quite an in-depth audit of the Suffolk coast as a visitor destination, which revealed lots of insights, some of which I will share with you today. Since then, we've done a piece of work, and I can see some of you in the room that were involved in this piece of work, all around developing the food and drink tourism offer within this destination. And most recently, and not related to the previous two pieces, but we've also done a piece of work around public transport and the visitor economy across Suffolk, Norfolk and Essex, and that was on behalf of Transport East, really looking at the challenges that the visitor economy faces from a public transport perspective. So quite different, but still I think really relevant. So I think it's fair to say that we know this destination well, because we've looked at a lot of the data, and I just want to say there really is lots of data to draw from. So as Mary was saying, you know, we're in a really strong position here with the funding that we've got access to over the coming years, but it's also a really strong position from the amount of data that we've got access to and the insights that we can draw from that. As I said, we work with a lot of destinations and it's not the norm to have this much data. So what I've tried to do today is really take some of the new insights that are coming through and apply those to what I'm going to talk to you about today. And the data that I've really drawn on is kind of from three different elements. The first one is T-stats, so this is live footfall and movement data. So where are visitors going when they come to East Suffolk? When are they coming? How many of them are there? It's all live data coming in daily. I've also drawn on the insights coming through from the Suffolk Coast Visitor Survey. So this is an ongoing survey that pops up on the Suffolk Coast website when people visit. There's an awful lot of responses coming through that. So I've been looking at the kind of trends that visitors are telling us, and also looking at the perception study that was done last year and some new insights that we've drawn from that. So different kind of layers of data that I've been looking at, but when you put it all together, I think it really tells us some interesting things about who our visitors are, whether they're staying, how much they're spending, their behaviours, and then what I've tried to do is kind of, as I say, pull all of that together, and I want to share with you today some insights around who our visitors are, and kind of how we can get the most value out of them and what the gaps are, what the missed opportunities are. And then I want to finish today by really talking about what you can do as businesses to try and plug some of those gaps and really get the most value out of our visitors. Okay, so I'm going to begin with talking about who our visitors are, and this won't come as a surprise to you, but a high proportion of visitors to the Suffolk coast are older. They are kind of 55 plus, often retired or semi-retired, travelling in couples or small family groups, you know, empty nesters, kids have moved away a lot of the time. They repeat visit a lot. So they're very loyal visitors. And they're really positive about the destination. I mean, you'd get that if you were coming back time and time again, it's because you like it. But when we've looked at what they're saying, and this is a word cloud that I've pulled from the visitor survey, we can see the really strong emotional drivers that are motivating people to visit here time and time again. So they use words like beautiful, relaxing, peaceful, calming. You know, it's all really, really beautiful, positive words about their emotional connection to this destination. They're not coming for kind of big attractions or large-scale entertainment. It's much more about the sense of place that they get and the authenticity from this destination. And let's be honest, why wouldn't they be positive about it? It's a beautiful place, it really is. And when we did the Sizewell Tourism Mitigation Fund work, and I mentioned we did the audit, what we found as well was that that's absolutely rooted in kind of the data. So it is a really high quality destination. The offer is, mature. The visitor ratings on review sites are really strong. And it's got really good supporting visitor experience elements, or what we sometimes call the brilliant basics. So things like good walking routes, good places to eat and drink, as well as really quality kind of accommodation and visitor services, as well as the heritage and culture. And those satisfaction rates are always really strong. So we've got a great destination. We've got loads of great visitors who are telling us how fabulous it is and coming back again. So what's the problem? Because I'm sure that you're not all sat here thinking that life's really peachy at the moment. I'm sure it's still really hard. And all the destinations that we work with are feeling exactly the same. So what I thought I'd do today is use the data to really dig into what the challenges are and why we might be feeling like it's hard and what we can do about that. So these are the challenges that I think you face as a destination, and I'm sure there are plenty more, but these are the ones that I've picked out. So the first one is around diversifying our audiences. I've mentioned that we get lots of older visitors who say great things about us and come back. And that really is great, and we shouldn't forget about those. But we need to remember that not all visitors are the same, and they don't all drive the same economic value. So despite being a core audience, that older visitor, our new insights reveal, although loyal, although numerous, are disproportionately day visitors, and they're unlikely to convert to being staying visitors. And as Mary said, you can't see that very well, staying guests are worth 5 to 6 times the amount of day visitors. So it's really important that we try and answer the question, how do we attract more people who will or who are more likely to stay longer, to spend and to return? And this is where the data gets interesting. So what the data shows us is that actually the people that are staying, short stays, 1 to 2 nights, are much younger. 64% of them are under 45, they're more affluent, they're working full time in kind of high or intermediate positions. They will come back and they will stay longer. And then they're the demographic that are most likely to stay outside of the peak season as well. And they really do align well with this destination. So they crave relaxation, they crave escapism, and new experiences. So all the things that the older people are telling us they love about the destination, this audience really look for too. And this is who they are. So they are 22 to 44, kind of pre-nesters, most likely to travel outside school holidays, highly influenced by social search, seeking those quieter destinations, using AI for travel purposes, taking those short breaks and spending more, importantly. They spend on experiences rather than just things. They book earlier than others. They desire sustainability, but not at premium. And they have a preference for kind of authentic, story-rich personalisation. And this is where the growth opportunity for the Suffolk coast lies. As I said, it's not about forgetting our core visitors, our 55 plus. They're still really important. But we need to think about diversifying the audience so that we can really get more value out of the visitor economy within this destination. Okay. Second challenge, and I'm sure this is one you're all really familiar with, is seasonality, or at least extending the season, because the data shows us that visitor activity is concentrated around peak holiday periods. And I'm sure all of these things here are familiar to you. So places are really busy for short periods. They're operationally, businesses are stretched during the summer, but then underutilised for larger parts of the year outside of those peak seasons, and also quieter midweek outside of the peak seasons as well. So I guess the goal here is not about just attracting more and more visitors. It's about thinking about the time of year that we want those visitors to come and trying to smooth that demand across the year to avoid some of these issues. And the third challenge that I picked up on, again, from looking at the data, is around visibility and discoverability. And it's already been mentioned a couple of times that this region is it's not known really very well. So from the data that I've looked at, so 83% don't know where East Suffolk is on a map, and 60% who visited don't know where it is on a map, which is the one that's really concerning. And 13% of those who visited Suffolk have never heard of East Suffolk, even though they've probably been in East Suffolk. And that's not necessarily a huge problem because visitors don't visit local authority kind of areas, do they? But still, you'd like to think they know where they are when they're visiting somewhere. So we do have a little bit of an identity crisis. And some more statistics for you. So most people now that answer the visitor survey are planning using online resources. It's not very good, is it? Sorry. Are planning using online resources. So kind of online search, reviews, recommendations, that kind of thing. That's probably not a surprise to you. Of course, you'd expect that. And in some ways, it's good because it means that as businesses, we can be more responsive in our marketing activity if it's digital than kind of traditional. But what it means as a business, that you can be the best business you can be from a quality perspective, but still remain kind of commercially invisible online, which I think is really quite scary, especially for smaller businesses who maybe don't have the digital skills in-house to do something about that. You know, maybe it's easier for larger businesses, but I think, yeah, skills and kind of budget to be able to do something about that, it's quite scary. So I think visibility and discoverability is the last key challenge. And now that I've set the challenges out, I think we should focus on the opportunities because there is lots of them. From a destination perspective, it is about diversifying this audience to increase staying visits, to generate higher spend per visitor and to smoothen that demand across the year. And I know that the DMO and the LVET, they're on this. You know, these are their kind of objectives. So I suppose I don't want to focus on that too much. I'd rather look at what you can do as businesses to try and kind of solve some of those challenges and to really take advantage of some of those opportunities. So the first one that I would recommend is really leaning into those slow tourism messages. So think about the work cloud that I put up at the beginning. You know, people are coming to this destination to experience a sense of place, to connect with the destination. They're not coming for a particular thing. They're coming for a feeling. So when you're thinking about your marketing messages, really try and lean into that. So think about telling local stories about your business or about your staff or the location of your business, not just generic kind of marketing messages. And similarly, don't feel like you have to discount because actually the visitors that we're trying to attract really value premium experiences and experiential tourism. So do promote quality and authenticity. The next one is around making shoulder season stays feel special. So we've talked quite a bit about seasonality. So really actively market seasonal experiences and don't apologise for why you're telling somebody they should come outside of the summer. You know, think about the things that make this destination better outside of the summer. That might be dramatic skies or rainy walks, but with a kind of cosy food experience tacked onto it. You know, there's lots of things. Maybe it's the peace and quiet that this destination experiences outside of the peak season. And then, you know, try and package things up and ask yourself, you know, what would persuade someone to come in November rather than in August? The next one, and it's already been mentioned, Scott mentioned it just a moment ago really, is about working collaboratively together to really package and promote the destination. Visitors don't come to a destination, or very rarely choose a destination because of one particular place, business, organisation. It's because they want to come and experience the destination as a whole. And they're not interested in businesses if you're in competition with each other. They want to see businesses working together and offering ways that they can experience the place that they're visiting. That might be through itineraries, or maybe it's through packaged experiences. But it can just be as simple as recommending each other, whether that's online or whether it's when you get somebody through your door. Just tell them about other places that they can experience that you personally like or would recommend. And then the last one, coming back to the challenge that I mentioned about visibility, is really about improving digital presence. So reducing booking friction is key. Make it feel safe and easy for people to book. Actively encourage reviews. I think that statistic that Mary showed was phenomenal. 16 times more reviews from Cornwall visitors than visitors to here. Actively recommending people to review is a great winner. We know people are saying positive things about the destination, so let's get them telling everyone. And then the final one I just wanted to say on this is about really choosing the imagery that you use online carefully. Now, there's a great tool that I've used for all the images in this presentation. It's from Snapseed, which I know is something that I think is quite new to this destination, but I think you can all get access to. And I would really encourage you to use it. It's great. And using that imagery as a way of telling stories and showing people what they can experience in the destination. So I'm going to finish with this. The future opportunity for the Suffolk coast is not about becoming busier everywhere all of the time. It's about becoming more visible, more collaborative, and attracting the right type of visitors who will stay longer, who will spend more, and who will connect with the destination and then return. And I just want to mention before I finish that there are some real opportunities coming out from a funding perspective that I would encourage you to look out for. As I said, we were involved in the development of the tourism fund, and it's been developed to address some of the gaps, the challenges, the opportunities that I've mentioned today. So I'm really sorry that you can't see that properly, but there is a small grant scheme coming out which would be applicable for many businesses in this room, and it would be about things like small-scale digital improvements that you could access. I believe it's no-match funding as well for that one, so look out for that. There's a kind of mid-scale scheme, which is for development grants, which is larger-scale improvements around kind of all-season infrastructure to address that seasonality piece. And then the larger one is around strategic growth grants, which funds things like larger-scale collaborative projects. I think I'm right in saying that will be coming out soon, and you need to keep a lookout for it on the East Suffolk Means Business website. So really good opportunity to help address some of the gaps, the opportunities that I've been talking about today. So thank you very much for your time.